Everything is zhuzhed in here. If you guys, if you're a note-taking kind of person, you can definitely take notes. And if you're, I just want to live in the stream of consciousness person, I will be sharing all the slides at the end. So no worries on that. You don't even need to ask me. I'll just share them for the fun of it. And then the recording will be available as well. So I have no problems with people sharing my work. I love it.
Thank you, John. And then I'll go ahead and introduce you. So we're excited John is here today. He helps teacher. He's an educator and presenter who helps teachers teach better, work less. He has been honored as the County Teacher of the Year, a 20 to Watch educator by the NSBA, and named one of EdTech's Digest Top 100 Influencers. His Eduprotocols book series has sold nearly 70,000 copies worldwide since 2021. And we're excited to have him today. I got to see him live. Amber and I got to see him live last year at Janae's UDL Cafe. And we're just very appreciative to have him join us today to inspire all of the structured literacy coaches. So thank you for being here.
Glad to be here. And I don't know if it's worth saying, I'm doing this for free, just for the fun of it. There's no like ulterior motive. I just love sharing with teachers. And if at the end, anything I'm sharing resonates with you, more than happy to send out a few free books. So if you want to just, and there's my email, and you'll notice too, free lifetime tech support, very serious about that. Love helping. So if we do this and you say, oh my gosh, you're blowing my mind, but I need more information, not a problem. I can hook you up with a free book, and more than happy to do that. Also, I want to say that when we start talking about phonics and literacy and structured literacy, these can be, I'm very aware that these can be hot buttons for people. They're very connected with certain aspects. So one thing I'm just asking everybody to do is if I say anything that piques your interest or makes you say, that's not my perspective, just go with the flow. Just stick with me. I believe the official phrase is suspend disbelief for a while. And here's a couple things just to get us started with this, to show you guys that what I'm sharing right now is a dynamically better way to get student results. And that's what we're here for. At some point, you've got to decide in your career, am I here for dogma? Am I here for a brand? Am I here for the way I like to do it? Or am I here for results? And if you think of a sports coach, sports coaches do not care. If they see a cool trick that works, boom, they add it right in. So here's my first one, you guys. I forgot to let you know I started using Eduprotocols last year. Listen to the timing at the beginning of semester 2. This teacher, Leanne, was called out in her PD meeting for having the most growth on their Ohio ELA state assessment. Okay, so that's a pretty good indicator. Here's another school that I work with in Southern California. Watch this, you guys. So in 22-23, coming out of COVID, they had 17% passing in ELA. In 23-24, they started tinkering with Eduprotocols. And this is all coming to me from the principal, by the way. And they grew some, and they were like, well, that's pretty cool. So I came in and did PD for them. You guys, they grew 12 points. And that was the only school in a 20,000 kid district that had double-digit growth. And guess what they did? They did the same thing in math. So I'm showing you guys a few of these things just to let you know I'm not just a person who's like wacky idea, book salesman, author. I was actually in charge of the largest educational nonprofit in California, and I quit and went back to the classroom during COVID because I like teaching. I'm not just here for adminning. I actually like teaching. Now here's one of our authors who teaches the primary edition of Eduprotocols. Look at this. Middle of the year, she's got one student well below benchmark. That was compared to 4 at the beginning of the year. Middle of the year, she's got 9 students at benchmark as opposed to 6. And then look at this. She grew her kids above benchmark from 25 to 57. and she shrunk her below benchmark. And this is in Palm Desert, where it sounds like Palm Springs sounds like big money, but in fact, in Palm Desert, most of the service workers live there. So these are second language kids, low income kids. Here's another school in California's high desert. And again, all you guys can have all the slides at the end. This is the year after COVID ended. This is school wide, you guys. Language arts school wide, where they went from 15% to 35% in vocab, and in literature comprehension they went from 23 to 37. And the part I want to bring to your attention is, look which grade levels are growing. Basically, all of them. Now, first grade doubled. Shoot, almost tripled. There's some anomalies, but you're looking at growth across multiple teachers. So these results are not like just the cool teacher or the teacher that will play along. Two more data points, and then we'll get into the stuff here. This is the seventh grade teacher in Southern California, in the Cucamonga area. This is her iReady data in the fall, 16% passing. In the spring, 47% passing. You guys, that's 3 times the growth. And I love this part. Look how little the red section gets. The red here is this giant chunk. She cut her red group in half. And bear in mind, you guys, this is seventh grade. We don't see those kinds of reading results out of seventh grade very often. And I love this part too. She said, I never felt so confident in my teaching and being an effective facilitator. So again, just trying to bring in some examples of growth to kind of get you curious to start it off. And then we'll get into some real life hands-on in a second. This is Tisha in West Virginia. He only started doing protocols last year in, I remember the date, it was November 1st, because she is at an event we did October 28th. Look at this, all 26 of my classes in the county. She's first, she's third, 11th, and 12th, but this is my favorite part. Her special ed group, her special ed group is in the top half of the county. Those are the kind of results I want if I'm going to teach for 180 days. That's what I'm looking for. And then one written testimonial. This is from Trisha Sanchez. I'm in complete shock at my sixth graders mid-year iReady. When's the last time you've had that in a good way? It's usually the wrong kind of shock. Thank you for constructing their knowledge and all the repetition. I genuinely believe Eduprotocols has helped my students work better during our station rotations. So we have differentiated need now learning. These are two things why my students perform the way they did. So how do we get there? Do you guys agree? The pretty good results. If we had those results across the country, people would say teachers are skilled. Teachers are helping my kids. We'd be getting the results we want. So this is a very popular phrase, and I love this book, Mindset by Carol Dweck. Most of us are at least familiar with the concept, right? We do these lessons with kids. You should have a fixed mindset or an open mindset. This is my favorite section from the book that I've never seen anybody share, you guys. I've never seen anybody share this part. This is an art class on Monday. This is Monday. Raise your hand if you draw like number 1. Raise your hand if you draw like number 2. Raise your hand if you draw like number 3. These are self-portraits on Monday. These are self-portraits on Monday. Look at Friday. Boom. Friday. Boom. Friday. Boom. Who wants to draw like that? Almost everybody. And this is the quote that struck me when I was reading the book. Carol said to the art teacher, how did you get them to draw so well, so fast? And you know what the art teacher said? I didn't teach them how to draw. I taught them how to see. I taught them how light works. And they were able to do this basically on their own. And part of what I'm passionate about in education is we are underserving kids. We've got to do a better job. So how can we get our kids to grow this much in phonics or reading or literary devices in a short amount of time? Now, most of the things I'm going to tell you guys have come from these two books, which are like, these are like my Bibles. I was an emergency teacher in 1996. I taught, and I said at the end of the year, I have no idea what just happened. That was crazy. Like, we did all these worksheets, but I never felt like I was in control. And so these are the two books that I bumped into at Borders. Remember Borders? That's how old this is. I bumped into these books at Borders and I read them. And most of us have heard the book Why Johnny Can't Read, but it is literally a self-training guide on phonics. Like, people think they need to go to years of training. Everything you need is coming from Rudolf Lesch circa 1955. And then this book, hopefully you guys have heard of the Linda Mood Bell reading program. Um, Diane McGinnis is the author of the second book. She is Linda Mood Bell's professor. And this book is 450 pages long, and I recommend it to people. And then they text me and they go, "Bro, that book is long." And I go, "If you want to be good, you got to read the book." So here's a couple of things, a specific example from why Johnny can't read. Sorry, why our children can't read. But a lot of my things I'm going to be sharing with you go back to 1997 when I read these books and I started applying these. I think they call it action research, right? So I would take ideas from the book and I would execute them with human children. Here's a great example that Diane makes the argument for in her book. There is sheet music, shorthand, and Morse code. Okay. How are they similar to reading? They are all artificial constructs. Reading is an artificial construct. It is not something that we need in nature to survive. And so she makes the argument that sheet music, there's no remedial sheet music. You read it or you haven't been trained yet. She makes the argument on shorthand. You read it or you haven't been trained yet. And the same for Morse code. You guys, in World War II, the Navy grew to like 2 million people. Every single one of them got taught Morse code. And how do they do it? Repetition, systematic approach, very much like what we would do with phonics. But there's some bigger pieces. You would never look at a song, I guess, and if you're unless you're on Name That Tune. But generally speaking, when you're reading sheet music, you don't look at the first note and the last and then guess the middle. You sweep, and you have to do it at a certain speed. Shorthand, which is really, it's just not even a thing anymore. But you learn the alphabet, you learn how to read it, you learn how to write it. Morse code's the same way. You can't look at SOS and guess the beginning and the end. And sometimes in our instruction, we're using the wrong techniques. But the bottom line is almost anyone can learn sheet music, shorthand, or Morse code with good instruction and good feedback. They don't have remedial music classes. You don't need to buy special glasses to read Morse code. So some of those things are things that we're trying to apply. Also, I'm hoping that you guys have listened to Sold a Story. It's fantastic in terms of the Lucy Calkins, Mari Clay, Fountas and Pinnell, how we got here and what the impacts are. And what I like about it, you guys, is it's also instructional. It says these are the things we can do that actually help kids to read. So I'm going to be talking about two domains today. I'm going to try to split them into chunks. We're going to go with phonics and fluency first, and then I'm going to share some of the comprehension things. And from my pre-meet yesterday when we were chatting, I know that you guys are primarily K5, K6. My background is mostly in middle school, but everything I'm going to show you guys works at nearly any age just by adjusting some things. And then two more data points. Okay. This is the United States versus itself since I was in first grade in 1970. This is 1970. Here's 2010. This is reading scores, or the little triangle one. Can you guys see the pattern? 0%. We're not going up or down. We're not going up or down. And I believe this graphic tells a story of instructional practice because it doesn't go up or down. We tend to teach the same. We get the same results. Like here's an example. The iPhone came out in 2005 or 6. The line does not go down. No Child Left Behind came out, I think, around 2002. The line does not go up. You can go farther back in time. Video games started in 1996, 1995. The line doesn't go down. You guys, the line doesn't move no matter what we do because we are doing our instruction the same way we've done it. And some smart readers and listeners will say, well, John, your data runs out in 2010. If you guys want, I can share you the other data point. No change. No change. The line stays the same all the way through COVID. During COVID, it blips down a tiny bit. And then after COVID, it comes right back to zero. And I think that, this is 75 years of instructional practice. We've got to look at different methods. And I just got this one, and I think this really applies to the phonics piece. Watch this. If you master 60% each year, here's your skill level by 12th grade. If you master 70% each year, which is more, here's your skill level in 12th grade. It's basically no skill level. You're not functional. And if you master 90% each year, look at this, you're still only in the 40% range. And again, you guys can diagnose and break that down later. But if you've ever seen a ninth grader trying to do algebra that is trying to do 9 times 4 on their fingers, this is the data of what that looks like developmentally. So to testify a little bit in my own defense here, and then we'll get into the first one. 2020, 2021, during COVID, everybody was yelling learning loss. These are my scores. I doubled my ELA and I quadrupled my math. And the only reason I'm really throwing this in is I want you guys to understand I get what modern classrooms work like because I work in classrooms. So the first Eduprotocol I'm going to show you guys is called the Fast and Curious. And we're going to use it with GimKit or BlueKit or 99 Math or WordWall or Quizzes, which is now Wayground. Any of the classic Check for Understanding platforms work with this. And the magic ratio for us is 3 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the kids a quick quiz for 3 minutes. I'm going to reteach for 1 and then quiz again. Now I'm going to blow some minds right now. Remember my friend Tisha in West Virginia? You guys, she's getting kids through 200 Latin roots in 4 weeks. 200 Latin roots in 4 weeks with a class average above 90%. And you saw what her end of year test scores ended up looking like. So this is the first little one. We're going to use GimKit, but truly almost any of the best platforms, the name brand platforms that you see will all have this same kind of capacity. So I'm going to give you guys a quick quiz on Turkish foods. Let me know in the chat if you're an expert on Turkish. One of the first coaching points on giving Nadine's like, no, I got nothing. Perfect. You're going to feel just like a third grade kid learning 5 new consonant blends. So in GimKit, there's all these games. I do not let my kids play any of these games until the class average hits 85%. I always start with Tycoon. We get right in there. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes, but there's only 10 words, you guys. It's plenty of time. So I'm going to put the link in the chat here in case you're that person that just wants to click one link. If not, you can go to gimkit.com/join and enter that code. You can play on your phone or your computer. And then as you're logged in, let me know in the chat, how am I doing? Like, give me a score out of 10 so far. Let's make 10 good. Am I like a 7? Are you feeling it? Do I need to adjust? Ooh, okay, I got a 9. I'm good with a 9. It's early still. From here on out, I'm going to be showing you guys specific techniques of how we get those results. And here's the other cool part. If you're new to Eduprotocols, they're free. So literally it's just a mindset change for the teachers. And I love this quote that I made up. Better pedagogy is always free. You can always change the way you teach and it costs nothing. What costs money is photocopies and leveled readers and TPT. The pedagogy part, totally free. Why is it that way? Because I come from a poor little school district that only had 60 teachers and no Title I money. So I grew my teaching skills based on having no funding. Sometimes when you see people share this kind of stuff, they'll say, we had $2 million and we had to get, no, I always had nothing right from the beginning. So that's my normal state. Okay, here we go. Start the game. If you haven't played GimKit as a student before, and you get to a word you don't know, go ahead and guess and then pay attention because it'll give you the right answer right away. And Amber, I've done this with 700 people. The numbers always work. That is 700 people at once. Okay, I'm going to start the game. One more thing. It'll say bu ne, which means what is it in Turkish. So I don't want you struggling on that. Here we go. 2 minutes for glory. Oh, look at that. Right out of the gate, we're at negative $3. You guys are getting rocked. Our score is plummeting. But guess what's going to happen? You're going to hit the second repetition in a few moments. So you'll be okay. It's a Michelle and Michelle battle right now. Yeah, Alyssa kicked out the Michelles. One minute in, we've earned $77. We're finally positive. We are cooking right along. I must have been an admin for too long. I'm looking at Pilly's name, PILI, and all I can see is PII, personal identifiable information. Every time I look at Pilly, I'm thinking PII. All right, 30 seconds to go. Now we're really cooking. Our stock market is way up. And 6 seconds. Lexi comes out of nowhere. Good job, Lexi. And here we go. Lexi, you win a free book. Let me know what you want. I'll ship it to you. You can drop me an email later. But here's the first thing teachers do is they spend too much time on this screen. Watch the button that says view report. And this is in Blue Kit as well. All right. We just did Turkish foods. Here's our data. You guys answered, let's see, 280, 380, about 450 questions. You got a D, but that's fantastic for the first try. That's like, I didn't even do anything, and we're above 50%. The next little trick I give teachers is we're going to not go over everything you guys missed. We're going to just go over the lowest three, because look what happens here: 36, 39, 60, and then everything else is a C. So when I started teaching, I would go over all the answers, but it turns out that's more information than the resource kids need, and they can't handle it. And the kids that might have got a good score are bored because they already know the answer. So we're just going to do the bottom three real quick. You guys, this one's makarna. Makarna, like macaroni and cheese. If you were answering pasta, I would like to remind you that this is a Turkish quiz and this is makarna. So say that to yourself real quick, makarna. Second lowest one is almost always in the bottom three, and I don't know why. But is this one makarna? No, it is not. Is it chocolata? No. Is it some form of potatoes? No. So this one is dondurma. So dondurma is our second one. And then our third lowest is not salad. Okay, salata. It is not pizza. It is not cake. This one is sorba, which is a kind of a leek soup. So this is the thing. We did a 2-minute quiz. I went over the questions real quick. Now we're going to play another round. And we're going to go here. On your screen, you can just hit refresh and it'll say join code. And I will put the code in the chat again. And we're going to do the same exact game, same everything, 2 minutes. Now, this is not in addition to what your teachers would normally do. This is replacing, if you've ever walked in and been underwhelmed by a bell ringer or a warm up that might take 10 minutes or 12 minutes and might not generate any data. I'm going to do this on types of sentences, blends, Latin root, affixes, all that kind of stuff is in this process now. What are we going to do tomorrow, Amber? Same thing. What are we going to do the next day? Same thing. And by Friday, my class will be at like 90% or 95% higher average. And I have nothing to grade. So for this memorization level, and if you guys, and knowing the crew that's in here, you guys are, you know your blooms, You know your DOK, all those kinds of things. Yeah, this is low DOK. This is MTSS level zero point 0.7. It's probably not even a one. But follow my analogy. If you have a freshman in high school who can't do times tables, they're not going to be able to do well in algebra. This is the ELA version of that. I think of phonics as kind of like the times tables of ELA. If you don't know these things, everything else gets harder. So I'm going to give you guys a 3 count, and then I'm going to send it. We'll do 2.5, 2, and game on. Same exact game. Same exact game. And don't worry, I know you're head down thinking right now, but I will be showing you the fancy stuff as well. We went negative at no point during this quiz, you guys. We never were negative. And by 1 minute, we will have surpassed our total for 2 minutes last time. Hey, look at that. With 1 minute to go, we tripled our output for 2 minutes last round. And you ain't going to keep Pilly out of the top till Pilly is popping right along. Lexi's in the mix. You guys are crushing it right now. "12 seconds. Worth stating. Why am I having you do Turkish foods? I want you to feel as disoriented as a kid in your classroom when the lesson starts. I want you to go through that process. If I'd have done this on nouns and verbs, you would have blown it up. All right, here we go. Michelle, can you guess what our percent's going to be?
80.
92. I see why you teach language arts now. That's a math joke. Okay, last time, you guys, we did 570 problems and we got 62%. So we are up 30 points and we're up almost 150 problems. So this is an eminently repeatable process. I'm going to pause now for comments, thoughts, clarifications. And it's okay if you don't have any, if you're good, but this is the entry for this whole process: is how do I get kids through 44 blends in not 36 weeks? How, because a lot of times when teachers hear phonics, their head kicks into circle time, singing songs, lots of photocopies. You know, that's what their brain, when you say phonics, they think flashcards. And the problem is that's an incredibly slow and hand done process, if you will. So any thoughts or comments real quick?
John, how long did that take to set up on your end?
Oh, that's my favorite part. Watch this, you guys. I'll demo it real quick. Watch this, Amber. Ready? First of all, when you go to Discovery, there's 30 million kits. So do you think there's one on phonics? I will bet there is. But GimKit just did this little AI trick. Watch this. What do you want your quiz to be on, Amber? I'm going to make it for you right now.
Some sort of morphology.
Okay, so let's go like this. Ooh, that looks good for morphology. So watch this button right here. Generate with AI. Ready? Quiz on. Do you want any more specificity or just morphology? Do you want to do like?
Just let's do 5th grade.
Okay, so I'm going to go like this: quiz on morphology. I'm going to hope spell check me. I'm going to go 20 questions. You're going to say fifth grade, but I'm going to make it fourth grade because that'll make the readability easier. It's still morphology, but it makes the answer shorter. Watch this, you guys. This is wild. I can put in quiz on 100 common Latin roots. It makes the quiz. It's crazy. Here we go. So 45 seconds here. I can do this on anything I type in there, the AI will generate. Is it perfectly accurate? No. Have I been stunned by how good it is? Yes. So here we go. How am I doing so far, Amber?
Looking pretty amazing to me. That would take me probably an hour
Yeah. Let's say
easily.
you're fast, a half an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
Even if you're fast, look at that.
Right.
And we said 20 words. I could have said 50. So that's the power of AI in education. Great question, by the way. Now, how do I get the big scores? Here's another little trick for you. Okay, Jay and Michaela, they really stand out, right? Let's say it's Monday. Most of us are in a pretty close range, 50 to 70%. So this is what teachers don't do with the data, you guys, because we hear data-driven instruction and we hear, let's look at the data. We hear all that. I have the action activity. So what I do is when the kids give me this data after our quiz, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to have them sit at the table with me tomorrow, and tomorrow we will remediate by playing together. Also, if Jay and Michaela are getting pulled out for SPED or resource or reading, guess what? I'm going to send a copy of that GIM kit to their pullout teacher and say, just get them to do this. I don't need a worksheet. I don't need you to get a workbook. Just be in line with me. They've exhibited a weakness. Help me fix it. So it makes a tremendous difference. Here's what one of our classrooms looks like when it's in its full glory: 97, 97, 91, 95, 95, 99, 72, 97, 85, 97, 80. So Tyron and Nevea are the lowest, but you guys, they're still passing. So I might break them out and do a few more reps. But the way to do this is eminently clear. 3-minute rep, coach them, 3-minute rep, break down the data, give them more reps tomorrow. And I love this one. First full week of school. Here's a question I get at this point. Does it stick? Like, it's great that they're playing. Does it stick? Watch this. First full week of school, I sprung a Fast and Curious on literary devices. So that's pretty meaty content on her 8th graders. Nicole did this. They got an 85% on the first try. They had not seen this work since the previous fall, you guys. 85% retention. They were in a whole new grade level. And look at this. Guess who's sharing this data at the staff meeting? This teacher. Woohoo! Everybody needs protocols. So she seems pretty happy. And literally, if we could just get teachers to do this and not do anything else, we would be getting massive results. But I'm gonna push it up for you guys right now. Here's a couple more quick exemplars. Fast and Curious for the win. I've been supporting 8th grade science remediation. Take a look at these gains. That's right, 8th graders gaining 30 to 50 percentage points. And this is my favorite part right here. She says, these aren't even my students. She's just helping the science teacher. Fantastic. Here's what it looks like in real life. We have our teachers tracking every day. Look at this, you guys. Day 4, 99%, 100%, 99%. This is 3 different classes. And this is 7th and 8th graders who are notoriously unwilling to do any kind of work, cranking it out. And look what she said right here. We did SAT root words this week. Yes, a group of root words from SAT review class that she normally teaches to high school. She was doing that with 8th graders. And here's one little thing for you guys to notice. At 93%, once my class average hits 93%, there's only one C in my class. You can't have an F or a D and hit 93. So this is all very, very easy to track and follow. It's, again, totally reproducible. Here's a different class, Kim Hughes. Look at her people here. Look at this, 321. On Monday, this class was 62%. By Friday, they hit 85, 95, 92, 94. And these classes were all in the F, D, and C range on Monday. hearing eighth grade boys in the hall between classes challenging their friends to top their score. I love how excited they are about taking a daily vocab quiz. Here's another little secret for you. What's my grading time? Graded. What's my prep time? And and thanks for asking the question, Amber. Like if I say, oh, next week we're doing this and I got nothing, I just hop into GimKit and in 3 minutes, I got something. Now, on the higher level, we have some other things we do for remediation. We love Frayer models. So one thing I might do with kids is Monday and Tuesday, do the GimKit or Lookit. But then on Wednesday, and watch this piece, I'm not going to have the kids do all 25 or 35 words in a Frayer. That takes too long to grade. It takes too long to do. So I'll put them in table groups and they'll do the Frayers collaboratively. And in 5 minutes, we can take our 6 most words, dogpile on them all together in collaborative groups, build these Frayers. And look what Ariana says here. I got called crazy for high expectations today. I put a time limit of 30 seconds on the Frayer. One of the students said, I can't believe I created this. It's so awesome to see students struggle and come out on top and get rid of their learned helplessness. There's one more variation that's really fun that we do called Word Up Wednesday, which is kind of a smushed around Frayer model, but it looks like this. And what happens is I give the team a word, they paste the Google definition here, they paraphrase that here, they give me some antonyms and synonyms. They give me an image, a meme, and a GIF. And Amber, just like you said, 5 minutes, we're remediated. What are we doing tomorrow? Right back into the GimKit. And so now a little bit about Eduprotocols before I go to the big stuff, but think about them as a lesson frame, you guys. What grade level can we do a Venn diagram in? Any grade level. What subject? Any subject. You can give it to GATE students, you can give it to special ed students, doesn't matter. So think of protocols like a Venn diagram. It's a reusable container that you just plug your content in. And if you're a self-contaminated teacher, like in third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you can use the same protocol in science, reading, and social studies. So once the kids know how the game is played, you just switch the content. And a question that we get in our Facebook group a lot is, does anybody have anything for holes? Does anybody have anything for the giver? Does anybody have anything? You guys, you just put in your excerpt, execute the protocol. So the planning is minimal. And then we're really into reps. This is for my friend Drew down in Texas. You guys, he has over 90% passing on his social studies on the state test. Dude, 90% passing on social studies. If kids don't like math, they also don't like social studies a lot of the times, and yet they're winning. So here's a little graphical breakdown of what it looks like. This is what I got taught like when I was a student. Direct instruction, do some work, and then I hand in my worksheet. I get my feedback when. Correct answer on that, if you've been teaching for a while, is maybe never. You may never, or you get a star. What do I do with a star or a smiley face? So in protocols, what we do is we make this one little adjustment right here. Here's the adjustment. Just like we did with Turkish foods, we start with work. We then give kids feedback and direct instruction immediately, and then we repeat the work. And the reason I like sharing this graphic is hopefully it'll help you kind of demystify the process. Okay. You don't need to do anything new. We're just changing the order. Everything on the right side, you know how to do. We're just changing the order. And technology can really help with that. One of the things we use a lot for brain science purposes is the forgetting curve. Again, if you want to open a new tab, and well, I'm going to do it for you. I'm just going to open a new tab right in the middle of my presentation. Watch this. Forgetting curve. Okay. And then I'm going to go to images. You guys, it's all over the place. There's tons of this, except where? In education. Because in education, we believe we can't hand out more work because we are too busy correcting the work that's already coming in. Can I get an amen? We've already got stacks of paper. That's why when we start teaching, they say do a pre-test and a post-test. And about 3 weeks into your career, you're like, the heck with that pre-test, I'm buried. So the forgetting curve was developed in the 1800s by a guy named Frederick Ebbinghaus, and it basically says this: if you do something here's your retention. It's in the low teens. If you do that activity 4 times, boom, you're in the low 70s. That is a massive difference on recall, especially on things where you need to memorize them. The second one that people don't hear about very much, I only found this by accident in India, and it's called ipsative learning. I was doing this activity in India, and the superintendent walks up and she says, "Oh, isn't that just ipsative learning?" And I was like, uh, what's that? I'm 57 years old. I've been in education 26 years at that point, right? And here's what it looks like. You do something, when you get a score, you immediately think to yourself, I should do that again. I will get a better score. This explains bowling. You bowl, you get 3 strikes, and Michelle's like, you know what, Amber, we're going to roll another because I think I can get 5 strikes. She does not, but she tries again anyways, because that's how it works. This is golf. We hit the ball. We think it'll go where we want to. It does not, but we keep hitting the ball. This is solitaire. You're not even playing against a person. You're just trying to finish the game as well as you can. And then if you're a Candy Crush crusher, there's no trophies. There's nobody's on TikTok going, Amber's got the best Candy Crush score on the pot. Nobody even knows, dude. So this is how human brains work. And sometimes modern teachers are saying, well, these kids are all dopamine addicts and they're all gamers. It turns out that's how people are built in general. The video game revolution is just showing, it's just giving kids a place to be that, if that makes sense. That's how our brains already work. So couple other quick notes here. Eduprotocols, they're research-based. They're not researched. We're getting ready to do one with Johns Hopkins. Very excited about that. But we don't have research, but we're aligned to Hattie, Marzano, a lot of the same stuff you'll see in Kagan. We've been very mindful of building these around brain science. They're a pedagogical approach. So if you're liking this, but you're like, oh my gosh, you guys, this is great, but we're benchmark. What are we supposed to do? Or we're rewards, or we're go math, or whatever. Doesn't matter. Pedagogy is pedagogy. So if you are in a curriculum, you have vocab every week. How am I going to do the vocab? Fast and curious. You have something to read every week. How am I going to read it? We're going to read it. And instead of doing the kind of crappy questions that the publishers give us, we're going to do high level stuff. And there's tons of SEL and UDL involved. And it's all ready to go. It's all ready to go for you. And so now I'm going to go to the fancy stuff. I promised fancy stuff. Here comes the fancy stuff. Here's my literacy checklist. This is how my literary checklist goes. 36 literary devices, you guys. I'm going to give my kids all 36 literary devices. I'm not going to just give them the 4 the publishers give us. How do you read well if you've never heard of poetic justice? How do you write well if you've never heard of irony? Or if metaphor happens in March, because that's where the publisher puts it. I get my kids through all 36 literary devices before the end of September. I'm going to teach how to summarize. I love somebody wanted but so as that method. We're going to go through literary terms, which would be like antagonist, protagonist, setting, all those kind of literary terms. I'm going to teach my kids syllabication as part of my reading, because if you can't pronounce 4 and 5 syllable words, you're hooked. And if you guys are fans of the Sold a Story podcast, they talk about this a lot, that the smart kids are good at guessing 1 and 2 syllable words, but that's not a strong phonological base. And around 4th grade, the guessing game's over. And then they have an implosion because they realize, and actually I'm going to go back to this one right here. I'm going back to this chart. They realize this just happened to them, right? They were cooking right along, but as a total skill set, they are not where they need to be. And that's really traumatic for kids. So back to my slide. Where was I? 6 types of conflict. I teach all 6 types of conflict, because how am I supposed to determine the theme and the tone without knowing character versus machine or character versus society? We have a specific strategies for paraphrasing and close reads. I love teaching, listen to this, you guys, 5 genres at once. At once. 5 genres all at the same time. Yes, I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I love Freytag's pyramid. You might call it the plot structure, but it's boring. So we go hero's journey. So with GimKit, I can do the 36 literary devices, the conflict and the genres for vocab. And we already saw that. So I'm not going to spend that so much time there. You can do the same thing in BlueKit. Doesn't matter. But I'm going to ramrod that vocab in really fast with big numbers. Now I'm going to show you guys one called parafly. And parafly stands for paraphrasing on the fly. What I noticed when I went back to teach sixth grade is my students could not paraphrase to save their life, folks. So what I did was, I'm going to skip a couple slides here for time. I gave kids a chunk of text. See my chunk of text here? It's about White Castle hamburgers. My kids are from California. They don't know nothing about White Castle hamburgers. But what I did was I gave them a chunk of text and I said, write this again in your own words. And look what my kids did after about 5 practices. The sixth graders, watch this. Pretty solid. That's in about 6 minutes. That's Alina. And then here is this girl, Stephanie. She uses Five Nights at Freddy's characters, but that's Stephanie. I know who it is. But look at the similarities. A slider fast food restaurant called White Castle has 377 locations in 13 states. You know what she didn't start with? A catchy lead. Hey, did you know? Do you want to know about? Have you heard of? Nope. She just went right to work. Did a great job. Alina, the White Castle is a regional hamburger. Boom, went right to work. Now, my feedback to Alina was great job, but guess what we never have? Informal writing. No, we're not going to use the exclamation mark. So this parafly can be used in any situation where you have an open-ended scenario. You give kids a paragraph, and I'm going to show you the graphic overview right here. You give kids a paragraph and you say paraphrase it. Okay. You give real-time feedback. You give a second paragraph on the same topic. You give real-time feedback and improve. So you might say things like this. You guys, you got to capitalize those proper nouns, people. You can't say things like I like. This is formal writing, right? And we do 3. And then on the 4th one, we've written 3 paragraphs, and it could be about Pluto or Saturn or the history of the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, all those kinds of things. On the 4th one, they write their paragraph. Boom, boom, boom. You guys, I can get kids to do all of this in under half an hour, which means we're going to do it 2 or 3 times a week, which means in 4 weeks, my kids are destroying the concept of summarizing. And now I'm going to really blow your mind with an AI-based tool. I don't know what you guys have heard about AI, but I'm not giving kids chat GPT. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to make a quiz for you guys real quick. So watch this. This is Snorkel. And Snorkel's owned by a couple of teachers in San Diego. And they're really cool cats. If you want a pro account, I can get you a pro account for the rest of the year. Just send me an email later. But watch this. I'm going to just put in an activity. I'm going to call it syllabication. And this one is mind-blowing because watch this. Audio only. How many of you have spent a week doing fluency tests that look like this? I'm trying to listen to John read. Can you guys just keep coloring? I just want to listen to John read. This is now every single kid can do the quiz in real time with AI feedback. So I'm going to give you guys one word, syllabicate. Oh my gosh, I love this word. Okay, I'm not giving you any hints. I'm going to make it larger. And when you get in there, you need to say, you need to pronounce and explain the syllables. Now, snorkel, I could, I better spell that right. There we go. Now I click the button here. What I put into the whiteboard, Snorkel's are going to build a rubric on. So Amber and Michelle, imagine this. We're working on blends. I put 3 columns of words. I tell the kids, syllabicate with your pen and then say each one correctly. Immediate AI feedback. So look at that. It broke all this down for me. I hit confirm. And Michelle, if I'm running a smidge tight on time, how tight are we? Can we smudge a little bit? Because I can end on time.
We have till 1, so we have about 40 minutes.
Okay, I don't want to go that long. I don't
Okay.
want to blow you guys out, but if I've got another 10 minutes, I'll do that. So I'm going to name the class right here. And I'm making this in real time I want you guys to see how agile it is. Okay, and I'm going to go coach, and I'm going to go guest login. I'm going to hit assign, go to activity. This is from scratch, Amber. I had nothing when we started. Now I'm going to share it, and you guys, I'll put the link in the chat again. Oh, Susan, yes, I'm a White Castle guy. Did you know they do Sloppy Joe sliders now, by the way, Susan? Yes. And they're actually really good, Sloppy Joe sliders. So you guys can hit the chat, or you can go to join.snorkel.app. And when you get to the sign-in screen, pick guest. It'll say Google, Microsoft, guest, pick guest. Although I'm aware White Castle is not everybody's cup of tea. Very, very familiar with that. Okay, and all you got to do is, and I'll show it as a student right now. Ready? Try as a student. Ready? Start response. I go like this. This word is guys, jai, size, guys, size, size, guy, jai. There's 3 syllables, SYZYGY. Submit. The AI is now going to take my audio input and give me feedback. Feel free to try it on your end, but in case you're having any technical problems, I wanted to give you a model. Amber, you'll love this. I did this at Dyslexia Day down in Texas. 150 kids did the McDonald's Big Mac song. They had to do it in 2 seconds or less and then give an opinion. Do you like or not like a Big Mac? It was amazing to watch. Oh, look, it gave me a 0 on my own quiz. I don't see you to get started, break it down. So now guess what kids can do? Respond again. And I can now go in and hit respond again. Size I jai is 3 syllables, SYZYGY, and submit. So now I'm going to switch over to what you guys are working on. It's just a fantastic tool. Amber, again, imagine this. Ready? You put a block of text. Read this text. Tell me about the beginning, middle, and end. Read this text. Tell me about the actions of the hero. Now you can do that as audio only. It's incredible. Okay. Ooh, look at this. All right. Who got a good job? Let's see. Let's see. Snorkel feedback. Great job pronouncing it correctly. You nailed it. You correctly identified there are 3 syllables, but watch this. But can you break down each one and explain? You guys, syllabicating a word just became DLK3. Not just can you get it right, but how do you know? The teacher asks you to pronounce and explain. What do the specific sounds each represent? See, now that's where we got to coach the AI sometimes. And I hope you guys are digging this. This is just a fantastic tool. 505's in there. Brittany comes in with a strong. And then if you look on my screen, you guys, I can scroll through. I don't even have to watch the whole video. I can scroll it. So pretty cool stuff there, matched up with an Eduprotocols mindset, right? So here's how I could do this. Another protocol that we do is called Bukakucha. I don't know if you guys have heard of Pechakucha. Pechakucha. It's a Japanese drinking game. And basically what you get 20 seconds to do 20 slides, and every slide goes every 20 seconds. So in a Bukakucha, what I might do with kids is I might say 3 facts about the protagonist, cite your source, put your page where your textual evidence is, and then put me a picture of who would play them in the movie. Or I might do this. 3 facts about the setting and how it in fact impacts the chapter, right? The fact that we're in a forest, the fact that we're in a castle. But I can put those Bukakuchas into Snorkel, which means those kids can put that picture, explain their thinking, type their thinking, and it gets corrected immediately. And they get the AI feedback immediately. So Bukakucha is one of our favorites. Think of it like a lit circle, but the kids only get 3 minutes. So I might give them 5 minutes to read and then say, Bukakucha, conflict. Give me 3 facts about the conflict. Give me a meme or a GIF that supports your position. Go. You can do it on paper. You can do it on slides, but if you do it in Snorkel, it's immediate feedback. So it's pretty incredible. Here's the other one. And then I'm watching the time. I've only got 74 slides to go, Michelle, so we're in good shape. I'm just kidding. This is the triple genre. Most of the time, in fact, everywhere I've ever been, most people will do narrative for first quarter, compare contrast for second quarter, maybe fractured fairy tales. Third quarter's infolit. The state test is coming. We want to be ready. And then fourth quarter is like, yeah, we'll do poetry. Testing's over. The problem with that is your lowest readers haven't done narrative for 6 months when they get to the test. Those terms, they've only done infolit for 3 weeks. In the triple genre format, we're going to do all three all the time. And then I won't give them 5 right away, but towards the end I will. So check this out, you guys. What if I told you, look at the amount of writing here. Just take a quick visual snapshot. That is third grade, my friends. That is third grade writing that volume. And again, you guys have all the slides. You can dissect them later. I have to share, we did 3x POV with my third graders. Listen to this, 2 days before the end of school. One of my kids who never writes wrote. He had so much fun. Here are samples. That's fantastic, right? How about this? Here's 5th grade. Look at this. Ready? This is 5th grade, and it's not just one kid. You're looking at 4 kids, different responses. This is Sean Reed. He teaches at a low-income school. They wrote all of that in 15 minutes, you guys. 15 minutes. 3 different points of view on a story that they read in 15 minutes. And then here's the genre version. So in genre, I'll give kids a graphic organizer that looks like this. So I take a picture and I will say, write me a title that sounds narrative, which could sound like Walmart had a big sale and my aunt went crazy. And I could write informative. The Honda Accord can handle over 3,200 pounds on its roof when properly attached. And then I could do opinion. That's nothing. My F-150 can haul way more. So on day 1, we're just doing title, title, title. I need 3 pictures in the graphic organizer. Again, this can be done on paper. This can be done in slides or in Nearpod. But if you do it in Snorkel, what are they getting? Immediate real-time feedback. So that one's fantastic. And I gave it, here's a couple of examples. This one, look at these. These are clay tablets that were found in Babylonia, BC 1750. So they're like 4,500 years old. What is the title of the essay? Look at this. Amber, you're going to love this. Complaint about delivery of the wrong grade of copper. And look at the title. Look at the title. Furiously chisels for 8 hours. Okay, so imagine genre, narrative. One day I was at work when they sent the wrong copper. Informative. If you don't send me copper grade AAA, my medieval prehistoric weapons will fail in combat. And then opinion. Nobody likes copper anyways. Steel is the future. So just getting kids thinking that way. And then this one's fantastic. This one's about a 102-year-old woman that was running a counterfeit Little Caesars out of her basement. Do you think kids will like writing about that? Yes, they will. Guarantee it. So there's variation on 3X. We can do genre. We can do claims, evidence, reasoning. We could do this, something ironic in the scene, foreshadowing, and let's go metaphor, right? We can do point of view, purpose, and literary devices. So there's the actual video that I got off TikTok. Okay, last 2, and we're wrapping up. Most of us do this, right? Story plot. I don't like it. I like the hero's journey better. And here's what we do with this. We have kids call to action, threshold, helper, abyss, transformation, and return. This is what it looks like in an AP class, you guys. This kid is summarizing the Cuban Missile Crisis with the hero's journey in an AP class. And if you'll notice the images, the instructions are give me a minimum of 1 sentence to explain each phase, and that you can click, the kids can click me, but they also need an iconic image that supports their perspective. Where is non-linguistic representation, Amber, on Marzano? I believe it is number 7. Non-linguistic representation is a top 10 thing. Here's another class. This is in science. They're doing the hero's journey on genetics, which is really cool. So when we say right across the curriculum, kids are doing fantastic work here. Call to action, threshold, helper. Here's another one using mostly primary sources to explain John Ritchie, who I believe ended up becoming John Brown. I might be wrong on that, but they're using the same imagery to summarize. There's the template. And if you need supporting materials, check this out. Just Google the phrase hero's journey infographic. There's about 500,000. And I'm teaching this stuff to fifth and sixth graders, you guys. Guess what's happened to their reading comprehension? When I teach more sophisticated techniques, they have more sophisticated skills. And if you haven't seen, there is a fantastic TED Talk. We're not going to watch the whole
What do
thing.
Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did.
So that's the little teaser video, which you can just go to TED Hero and look it up. But watch this in real life. Here is the hero's journey in real life. It's cuteness overload. Watch this right here.
How am I supposed to like get strawberry milk without having to ask a teacher?
While third grader
Call to
Caleb Hart
action.
needed assistance with his strawberry
The
milk
mentor
mission, his
needed
teacher,
assistance.
Wendy Blankenship, says he did all the hard work to make it happen.
So he
Yep.
wrote a small letter to Dr. Taylor, our principal, and she read it and told him that if he would rewrite it, make some changes, that she would personally
Roadblock.
deliver it to
Gotta
Dr.
rewrite the letter.
Jacobiak, our superintendent.
Hart was beyond confused as to why the pink carton was no longer offered when he started his third grade year.
The first time we had it, I was like, ooh, this is pretty good. But that was in second grade. This is third grade, and I was like,
He's in the special
"Here's the
world right
strawberry
now. He's
milk
left the
because we had it
ordinary
last
world.
year."
After writing multiple rough drafts to the superintendent,
Multiple rough drafts,
asking
near-death
for change,
experience.
Dr. Nick Jankowiak agreed to Hart's request.
He showed up, knocked on my door, and he told me that he had strawberry milk for the entire school district because of Caleb Hart's letter.
I was first excited, but then whenever I figured out it was for other schools too, I was super excited.
Dude, that's the hero's journey right there in a nutshell. And then this is an example. This is how I teach conflict. I use cartoons, classical, modern. You've got man versus nature, man versus society, man versus technology. I'll give kids TV commercials and say, identify the types of conflict. Why do I give them TV commercials, Michelle? Because their reading skill is not a factor in learning the standard. When I give them a TV commercial, I love anything by Geico and Progressive, and we are raising their skill level dramatically, and it's not depending on their reading level. So here's a couple of visuals on Book of Kucha and another visual on 6 types of conflict. Here's some student work. It was character versus technology. I always get a Terminator. In there. Character versus character. Mr. Sir yelling at Stanley. Character versus character. Gumby versus his weird brother Gumby who wrecks everything. I don't know who's old enough for Gumby besides me. Not that many people, is my guess. I got, okay, Maria's in. Okay. Here's character versus character in Lilo and Stitch. These are how we start the process to start the conversation, right? Fantastic stuff. I got a couple more for you guys. This one's called Reading Reps, is actually made by one of our teachers. It wasn't made by one of our authors. And here it is for nonfiction. Check this out. All right, here we go. What kind of text? First or second hand account? Compare, contrast, problem, solution, description, cause and effect, sequence. Why do I love the check boxes? I'm going to explain why I like the check boxes, because the kids need to consider every option before they choose. And then right here, what do? Explain, how do you know? So they're always looking at what was the main idea? What's the meaning of this word? Find a word that has a morpheme. That's just for you, Amber. Find a word with a morpheme. Correctly rewrite the underlined sentence. So kids are doing a lot of work here on a nonfiction text. And then here's another nonfiction example. Select a sentence to parafly. Really, really cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thin Slides is fantastic. Here is fictional reading. First, second, or third. How'd you know? What figurative language do you see? Write a detail from the text that supports a character trait. Write a detail that supports a setting. What is the meaning of this phrase? Summarize it. Poetry version, drama version. And here's the key to this, you guys. I don't need a new activity for the next reading. I'm going to keep using the same activity. I start with a TV commercial. I switch over to song lyrics. By the way, Edmund Fitzgerald, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald has nearly every literary device. Fantastic for an assessment. And then eventually I'll have kids picking their own books they want, like out of Epic Books is fantastic for this. And here is my crowning achievement, Michelle, the Plotline Planner. I was originally going to call it the kitchen sink because it does everything in one move. Look at how much work this kid did. Narrator, motivation, time, setting, major characters, minor characters, non-human characters, protagonists, antagonists, inciting incident, rising action. They go through climax, falling action, theme, character change, and finally, man versus man, man versus self, man versus society, man versus nature. Kids are doing that in one sitting, you guys. So it's all the things I've been doing all year. Here's the blank version. Nobody ever asked the kids to do all of the things at once. So I'm going to do all of these as subtopics, but at some point I have the kids doing these, and then guess what my assessment is? I'll give them the sweater song, the Gary song from SpongeBob. Here's the lyrics, and then they break it down. Who's the author? Who's the narrator? What's the motivation? What's the time? What's the setting? All of that stuff on a singular topic. It is fantastic. And then my last free gift for you guys. This is Learning Genie. Has anybody seen Learning Genie? Okay, Michelle has, probably because of me. I'm shooting my mouth off all the time. What if you could build a new unit? Here's Lord of the Flies, 3 weeks of lessons, 15 lessons. Ready? It built this unit at under 15 minutes. So look at this, Lord of the Flies. We got John Lithwick. Oh, and we asked it to do Lord of the Flies as it's compared to Shrek. I'm imagining a low-performing 8th grade class. I need big motivation. So in Learning Genie, I typed in, make me a lesson for Lord of the Flies in the theme of Shrek. And look what it made for me. Here's week 1, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All the activities, okay? And then I can go to week 2. Here's week 2, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Is Shrek the Perfect Onion? I love that title. You guys, it made all of this. 72 vocabulary items for you, Amber. 15 formative assessments. It made all of this for us. 15 minutes, you guys. So definitely check out Learning Genie. It's very different than using Brisk or ChatGPT to do your lesson planning. It's very robust. It makes your Google Slides. It makes your assessments. And if you're an Eduprotocol user, it makes, look at all of these assessments that it made for us. Open-ended questions. You guys, it's all made for you in Learning Genie. It's crazy. So let's see. Too bad. I'm just 10 minutes over. I was keeping you guys entertained. We got 23,000 teachers sharing in the Facebook group. So if you're intrigued, but you like a different style, go grab something from another teacher. It's not about people. It's about the technique. As promised, here's all of my slides. And I'll put that in the chat. And then I would also say, don't be afraid if I've either piqued your interest or you want to continue the conversation, drop me an email, jcarippo@gmail.com, and I'll either clarify or we can suss out what you saw or didn't see in the conversation. Thank you, Michelle and Amber, for inviting me. I know I went a tiny bit over, but man, when you say literacy to me, you have knocked over the apple cart, and I do not know where to stop. I don't know where the stop button is. Also, we're stating all of these protocols are free to use. We're like an OER resource, so you can just get in there and go. They're already in some of your favorite platforms like Seesaw, like let's see, Seesaw, Snorkel, Nearpod, Pear Deck. They're in. If you have a platform you like, probably our stuff is already in it. And if it's not, shoot me an email and I'll partner with your favorite vendor. So thanks you guys for letting me share. Like I said, just to reiterate, if I'm on a different wavelength than you, just stick with me on this part. We are getting the results you always wanted. If you keep doing things the same way and you're not getting the results, what did Einstein tell us? You got to do something different. And so we're trying to give you a research-based, free way to do just that. So thank you guys.
Thank you, John. We appreciate your time today and for offering this to us. It was so